Welcome the anointed ones. Some people don't miss you. They miss the access to the power they never respected. Sit with that. See, the chosen ones don't walk away for fun. They walk away when survival depends on it. And when they do, the fallout is biblical. We're talking ghost town energy, spiritual withdrawals, and karmic overdrafts. Here's a fact. Psychologists have found that people experience more emotional distress when losing someone they underestimated than someone they feared losing. Why? Because ego can't process that it fumbled divine favor and mistook gold for gravel. Let's be clear, you weren't just their ex, their old friend, their used to be. Nah. You were the divine disruptor of their generational cycles. You were the free trial of healing they abused. And guess what? Your spirit finally unsubscribed. Now they're crying. But not the cute rom-com kind of crying. Nope. It's the why does food taste like cardboard now? The why did the vibe leave with you? The why am I talking to the air hoping you telepathically hear me kind of crying. Because the truth is, it didn't work without you. And it never could. Because you weren't just a person. You were the presence. Let's talk about what really happened when you left. And why they can't stop stalking your glow. Even if they'll never admit it. Let's go deep. Number 1. You weren't their partner. You were their crutch. And when you left, they had to face the limp they spent years pretending didn't exist. They didn't see you as a partner. They saw you as a crutch. And the second you walked away, they had to face the limp they spent years pretending didn't exist. It's not just that they miss you. It's that you were the one holding everything in their life together, even when they swore they were the strong one. You were the emotional anchor, the voice of reason, the calm in the storm, the healer they never gave credit to. They got so used to leaning on you, they forgot what it was like to stand on their own. And when you left, the collapse was immediate. They acted like they were fine, tried to look unbothered, probably even posted something wild like, "Healed people don't chase closure." But behind all that smoke, total chaos. Their confidence cracked, their routine got messy, their fake peace turned into loud silence. That's the part they can't talk about. That your absence exposed just how broken they really are without your presence covering it up. You weren't the one who needed fixing. You were the one doing the patchwork, the one making excuses for their behavior, smoothing over the mess, giving chances, pouring love into someone who gave you breadcrumbs in return. They thought your love was a given. They thought you'd always come back. But what they didn't count on was your healing. And once you healed, you saw it clearly. They weren't growing. They were using your light to hide their darkness. Now they're sitting in that darkness alone. No more late-night pep talks, no more spiritual protection, no more emotional support from someone who had every right to walk away years ago. And it's not regret they're drowning in. It's reality. Because once the chosen one leaves, it becomes painfully clear. The whole time it wasn't mutual. It was mercy. And you finally stopped offering it. Number 2. You weren't loved. You were studied. They didn't love you. They studied you. That's the part that stings the most. They weren't trying to build with you. They were trying to figure you out, like a puzzle they could never quite finish. Every word you spoke, every move you made, they were analyzing you, not appreciating you. They weren't present in the relationship. They were observing it like you were some rare creature they didn't understand but wanted to control. They didn't want your heart. They wanted the formula behind your strength, your peace, your resilience. But instead of asking with humility, they watched you like a threat, secretly hoping to decode your greatness without having to respect it. You felt it too, that sense of being constantly watched but never truly seen. Every time you opened up, they'd store it like data. They weren't listening to connect, they were collecting. They thought if they studied you long enough, they could replicate you, steal the sauce without respecting the recipe. And when they realized they couldn't imitate what was divine, they turned cold, distant, maybe even resentful, because people like that don't actually want to grow. They want shortcuts to power. And your presence reminded them there are no shortcuts, just sacrifices they never wanted to make. What's wild is how they kept pushing your buttons, testing your patience, silently waiting for you to fall apart so they could prove to themselves you weren't real. But you didn't. You held your ground. You moved with grace. And it drove them crazy that you never cracked under pressure. They couldn't manipulate you the way they did others, and that bruised their ego more than they'll ever admit. Now that you're gone, they're not haunted by memories. They're haunted by unanswered questions. They couldn't break you, couldn't figure you out. And now they're stuck replaying every moment, hoping to find the secret. But they never will. Because you were never meant to be understood by those who came to use you. You were meant to be honored. And they failed that test. Number 3, they never wanted your love. They wanted your glow, but without the cost of carrying your cross. They never truly wanted your love. They were chasing your glow. There's a difference. They weren't in it to build something sacred with you. They were drawn to how you made them feel about themselves when they were around you. The confidence you had, the way your energy shifted a room, how people listened when you spoke. That's what they wanted access to. Not your soul, not your truth, not your journey, just the effect of it. Being around you made them feel alive, important, elevated. But instead of respecting the source of that glow, they tried to absorb it without doing any of the inner work it took for you to shine. The moment you stepped away, they didn't just feel your absence. They felt powerless. That glow they got so comfortable basking in suddenly disappeared, and all that was left was the version of themselves they were trying to avoid. See, you were their escape from facing themselves. You were the light they stood in to avoid their own shadow. And now that you're gone, they're being forced to meet the version of themselves you unknowingly protected them from. What makes it worse for them is how effortlessly you walked away. You didn't beg, you didn't argue, you didn't explain your worth. You just left. And that shook them. Because deep down they knew they never put in the effort to truly love you. They just put in effort to keep access to you. And when you cut that access, the truth hit hard. They were never connected to you. They were just feeding off you. Now they're trying to replace that glow, but it's not working because it was never just your energy. It was your purpose, your pain, your evolution, your spirit, things they can't mimic or steal. They wanted the benefits without the burden, but you are the burden and the blessing wrapped in one. And without you, they're left in the dark, finally realizing it wasn't your love that spoiled them. It was your light. And now it's gone. Number 4, you were the only thing keeping their demons in check. They weren't healing. They were hiding behind your light. You were the shield they leaned on without ever admitting it, the quiet strength that kept their chaos at bay. While they acted like they were growing or changing, all they were really doing was using your presence as a smokescreen. Your energy, your stability, your faith. It was like a force field they took for granted. You didn't realize it. But by just being there, by showing up, you were their spiritual babysitter, managing the dark parts of them they refused to face. Now that you're gone, all that pretending falls away. They're not wrestling with you, as they might have led others to believe. No, the real fight is inside them, against the demons they bottled up, ignored, or pushed down while you were around. Your absence stripped away the illusion of control they had. Suddenly the hell they hid is loud, messy, and inescapable. The chaos you used to mute just by existing is now shouting in their face. It's brutal, but this is their reckoning. They thought they could heal on their own while keeping you in their corner, but healing requires facing the darkness, not hiding behind someone else's light. Your leaving exposed the truth. They never wanted to fight their battles. They wanted you to fight them for them. And when you walked away, the safety net vanished. This is why they can't get over you leaving. It's not about missing you personally. It's about losing the one thing that kept their inner demons locked up. Without you, they're forced to confront the raw, uncomfortable truth about themselves. And that's a fight no one wants to have. But it's the fight they must face, whether they're ready or not. Number 5. Your departure forced them to confront the fact that they can't imitate your anointing because they never paid the spiritual price you did. Your leaving shattered their biggest illusion, that they could replicate your power without walking through your fire. They watched you struggle, bleed, and fall, and instead of respecting your journey, they mocked your scars like they were weaknesses. They laughed at your humility as if it was a flaw and dismissed your pain like it was just drama. What they never understood is that every scar you carry is a badge of survival. Proof you faced battles they couldn't even see, let alone fight. Your strength wasn't born from easy victories or shortcuts. It came from the deep, raw places where most people turn away. They wanted to believe your power was something anyone could fake or steal. But it's not. It's forged in the crucible of real suffering, real sacrifice, and real transformation. They never paid that price. They never faced what you faced. So when you walked away with that power intact, it broke their minds. They're furious not because you left, but because they realized they'll never own what you have. They wanted to copy your light, but you made it clear. It's not a product you can counterfeit. It's the result of a spiritual crucifixion, a journey through fire that only the chosen endure. And that truth stings worse than any loss. You're not just irreplaceable, you're untouchable. Your power is authentic because it's earned, not borrowed. Now their anger is a mask for their envy. They despise you not because you left, but because you survived in a way they never could. They tried to break you, but you rebuilt yourself from the ashes. And that's a reality they can't imitate, no matter how much they wish they could. Number 6. They didn't expect you to choose peace over attachment. They never saw it coming. You choosing peace over the drama, walking away without burning bridges or demanding explanations. They assumed you were hooked on the chaos like everyone else, caught in that toxic cycle of needing fights to feel alive, needing battles to prove worth. But you broke that pattern. You chose calm instead of conflict, silence instead of shouting, healing instead of hurting. And that choice hit them like a bomb. Their egos weren't ready for it. They thought if you left, it would be messy, loud, filled with blame and desperation. They expected you to beg for answers, to stay stuck in the back and forth like everyone else. But you didn't. You just left. No war, no fireworks, no messy fallout. Just a clean break that said everything without saying a word. That kind of peace isn't for everyone. It's for the chosen, those who know their worth beyond the noise, who understand their identity comes from a place higher than pain and dysfunction. You didn't need closure because you already had it inside you. You weren't negotiating with brokenness or trying to fix what was never yours to fix. You were honoring your divine self by stepping away from what no longer served you. That's what drives them crazy. They can't handle that kind of strength because it exposes their own dependence on chaos. It shows them that peace is possible, but only for those who refuse to settle. You didn't just leave a relationship, you left a system of toxicity and confusion behind. And by doing so, you rewrote the rules. You proved that sometimes the strongest move is not to fight for what's broken, but to walk away whole. They'll never get over that, because peace without a war is the ultimate power play. Number 7. You were their private lifeline and public scapegoat. They treated you like their secret oxygen, something they couldn't live without but never openly acknowledged. In public, you were the easy target, the one to blame when things went wrong. You absorbed the criticism, the judgment, the frustration, all while they kept drawing strength from your presence in private. Behind closed doors, they leaned on you hard, asking for your support, your patience, your love. But out in the open, they twisted the narrative to make you the problem. That kind of double game wears on you. It's exhausting being both the lifeline and the scapegoat. You carried their burdens silently, never allowed to show your own cracks, because if you did, their whole fragile image would crumble. They depended on you to hold it all together, but never gave you the respect or gratitude you deserved. Instead, they hid behind their pride and insecurities, letting you take the fall when things got tough. Now that you're gone, they're lost. Their world is unraveling, and they can't figure out why. The foundation they leaned on, their secret source of strength, is no longer there. They scramble to explain the chaos, blaming everything but themselves. Admitting your true value would mean exposing their own lies, their hypocrisy. It would mean owning up to the fact that they thrived by using you, and that's a truth they're not ready to face. Your departure pulled back the curtain, showing the emptiness beneath their facade. Without you, they're forced to confront what they refuse to see, their own weakness, their inability to grow, and the damage they caused by treating you as both indispensable and disposable. They can't say it out loud, but inside, they know the truth. And that's why they can't get over you leaving. Because you were never just someone to them. You were everything they didn't want to admit they needed. Number 8. You weren't just a part of their story. You were the climax, the lesson, and the consequence. You weren't just a chapter in their life. You were the turning point, the moment everything changed. They carried on with their stories, thinking you were just another character in the background. But you were the climax, the point where everything was put to the test. Your presence challenged their patterns, their excuses, their lies. You were the lesson they didn't want to learn, the consequence of choices they ignored for too long. When you left, it wasn't just an emotional hit. It was a spiritual earthquake that shook their foundation. They lost more than a person. They lost the easy way out. You were their shortcut to growth, the unspoken safety net that let them avoid facing their own darkness. With you around, they could pretend progress was happening. That change was coming, but deep down, they knew it was just surface-level survival. Your exit forced them to stop running from their shadows. Suddenly, the illusion of growth vanished, and they were left staring at the hard truth. They couldn't evolve without doing the real work. They lost their crutch, their quick fix, their temporary fix to long-term pain. That's why they're stuck. They can't move past it because your leaving wasn't just a break in the story. It was a rewrite. You didn't just walk away from the relationship, you walked away from their denial. And that's a price they never expected to pay. You became the turning point they feared, the mirror they avoided, and the catalyst for change they couldn't control. Your departure didn't just end a chapter, it rewrote their entire narrative, forcing them to confront what they'd ignored for too long. And that's why, no matter how much time passes, they can't get over you leaving. Because losing you was more than a loss, it was their reckoning. Number 9. They didn't love you. They were addicted to the healing by proximity effect. They didn't love you. They were addicted to what you brought into their space without even trying. Just having you around made their world feel lighter, their thoughts sharper, their spirit higher. They soaked it all in like a free upgrade, believing it was their own growth unfolding. But the truth was, they were riding your wave, borrowing your energy like a crutch disguised as progress. They never stopped to realize that the changes they celebrated were reflections of your presence, not their own doing. When you left, the illusion shattered. Suddenly, the boost they thought was theirs vanished. Their light dimmed, their confidence faltered, and their so-called evolution hit a wall. It was a harsh wake-up call. They weren't the ones evolving at all. It was you, all along, quietly carrying the weight of your own growth while they coasted on your shine. This realization is a bitter pill. They thought they were walking their own path, but without your energy propelling them, they were stuck. They're forced to confront a truth they never expected. Their progress was just proximity to your power. And now that you're gone, they're left with nothing but the emptiness of their own stagnation. It's not love. They never loved you for who you truly were. They loved what you did for them, how you made them feel, the upgrades you gave to their life just by existing near them. But now, without you, they're stripped bare, forced to face the fact that the strength they boasted was never theirs to claim. That's why they can't get over your leaving, because losing you means losing the false sense of growth they had, and deep down, they know it was never about them. It was always about you. Number 10. They weren't trying to be with you. They were trying to contain you. They weren't trying to be with you. They were trying to contain you. From the start, it wasn't about sharing life or growing together. It was about keeping your light trapped within their limits. They didn't want you to soar higher or shine brighter. They wanted to clip your wings, to dim your fire so it fit neatly inside the tiny space they could manage. Your brilliance was never something they admired. It was something they feared, because it highlighted everything they lacked. You outgrew the cage they built around you. Every time you pushed beyond their boundaries, they tightened the walls, hoping to hold you back. But you refused to be boxed in by their insecurities or small-mindedness. When you finally broke free and flew away, it wasn't just your liberation, it was a revelation. Your departure revealed just how narrow their world truly was, how fragile their egos had become, and how weak their grasp on control really was. They're still stuck inside that cage, watching from behind bars they built themselves, unable to understand why you left. They thought controlling your light would keep you close, but all it did was push you away. You weren't theirs to own or limit. You were meant to illuminate beyond their reach. Now their entire reality feels smaller because your freedom shines a spotlight on their confinement. And that's why they can't get over you leaving. Because losing you wasn't just losing a person, it was losing the illusion that they could ever hold something as powerful as your spirit captive. Number 11. You leaving triggered their worst fear, being forgettable to someone unforgettable. They built their entire sense of self on the idea that they were indispensable to you, that without them, your world would crumble. Their identity was wrapped up in being irreplaceable, the center of your story, the one you couldn't live without. But when you left, thriving and growing beyond their reach, it cracked that fantasy wide open. Suddenly, they weren't the hero of your story. They were just a forgotten footnote. This realization hit them deeper than any argument or fight ever could. It wasn't just about losing you. It was about losing their power over you. Their whole sense of control depended on you needing them. But when you walked away and flourished, it annihilated their delusion of importance. They weren't prepared to see themselves reduced to a chapter in a book they thought they were writing. You became the unforgettable one, and they were left wondering how they'd become forgettable. Their fear wasn't just about being left behind. It was about being erased from your life and memories altogether. That sting is unbearable because it cuts to the core of who they believed they were. Now they're stuck trying to rewrite their own narrative. But the truth is already written. You moved on, and they didn't matter enough to stay. Their identity built on your dependence shattered, and they can't get over that. Because your departure wasn't just a loss, it was a mirror reflecting their deepest fear, that to you they were never truly irreplaceable. Number 12. Your survival became their biggest insecurity. Your survival became their biggest insecurity. They expected you to break, to crumble under the weight of everything they threw at you. They were certain you'd come crawling back, begging for mercy or second chances. But you didn't. You stood firm, rising without them, proving that their assumptions were not only wrong, but dangerously naive. This alone exposes the truth they desperately tried to hide, that you possessed a strength they never saw coming, a resilience they secretly feared. They acted like you were fragile, like you'd shatter into pieces when things got tough, because that narrative kept them feeling superior. It gave them control, the illusion that you were beneath them, someone to be manipulated or underestimated. But your survival ripped that illusion to shreds. It revealed that their superiority was a lie built on your supposed weakness, and acknowledging your strength would mean admitting they were never above you at all. That reality shakes them to their core. Your ability to rise without their support or approval speaks volumes about the power they ignored and dismissed. You became a living contradiction to their arrogance, a constant reminder that they misjudged you in the worst way possible. This is why they can't get over you leaving. It's not just about losing you, it's about losing their false sense of dominance. Your survival threatens their entire worldview, and that threat is unbearable. Because deep down, they know you were never the one who needed saving. They were. And that truth will haunt them long after you're gone. Number 13. You weren't just the one that got away. You were the one they were warned about. You weren't just the one that got away. You were the one they were warned about. There was something in your energy, something undeniable, that their spirit recognized even before their mind could accept it. That's why they mishandled you, tried to control you, and kept you boxed in, because deep down they knew you were destined for something bigger than their small world. They feared the prophecy whispered by their own intuition, that you would rise beyond their grasp, beyond their influence, and become a force they could never contain. They tried to tame you, thinking they could rewrite your story to fit their narrative. But you weren't meant to be rewritten. You were meant to break free, to shatter the limits they placed on you. Their fear wasn't just about losing control, it was about losing relevance. Watching you grow without them is a living nightmare because it confirms everything they tried to deny, that you were never theirs to hold, and that your power was always something they could only glimpse from afar. Now, as they watch your rise unfold in real time, they're forced to confront their own failure to recognize your true worth. They're reminded every day that the warning was real, that you were never the person to settle, and that their attempts to cage you only fueled the fire you carry. You weren't just a missed chance. You were the reckoning they couldn't escape, the living proof that some people are meant to outgrow their chains and rewrite their destinies entirely. Number 14. You were never a phase, they were. They treated you like a phase, a temporary stop on their journey, something to pass through until the next distraction came along. To them, you were a chapter to skim, not the whole story. But here's the brutal truth. They were the phase, the lesson, the moment you outgrew. You weren't a pit stop, you were the destination, the evolution. Your growth left no room for their nonsense or delays. Now they're trapped in a loop, endlessly trying to recreate something that was never theirs to hold or define. They scramble to rewind and replay moments, desperate to control a connection that was never theirs to command. But destiny doesn't bow to ego, and growth doesn't wait for permission. You moved forward because you were meant to, while they stayed stuck, replaying the same scene, refusing to evolve. You were never a temporary thing in their life. They were temporary in yours. And that's why they can't get over you leaving. They're trying to reclaim a story they never had the power to write. Meanwhile, you're busy living the future they feared you'd become. No one ever truly loses the chosen ones, because you are not defined by their approval, their chains, or their timelines. You're a force that transcends their small expectations and shallow fears. When you left, you didn't just walk away from people or places. You shattered illusions, broke cycles, and rewrote what it means to survive and rise. Their inability to get over you isn't a sign of your weakness, it's proof of your power. You were never meant to fit into their story. You were meant to create your own. And in doing so, you didn't just leave. You became the catalyst for their reckoning, and most importantly, for your own extraordinary destiny. Keep rising, keep shining, because the chosen ones don't just survive, they transform everything around them. If this message spoke to you and you're ready to embrace your power as a chosen one, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more truth-packed content that lifts you higher. Don't forget to hit that like button. It helps get this message to those who need it most. Drop a comment below and share your story or thoughts. Your voice matters here. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them, because together we rise stronger. Stay connected, stay powerful. God bless you.